Good morning and welcome to the Jimmy Daytona Show. This morning I have Sifu Rafael Gomez, who is the owner of Max Martial Arts and Fitness in Farmingdale, New York, and for the past few years has also done the Coaching Call podcast. I had the privilege of meeting him in late May at Podfest in Orlando, and it was great to hear his many ideas, his resilience, his love of martial arts, and his love of spreading the coaching message. Thank you so much for coming on, Rafael, and thank you so much.
It's absolutely my pleasure, and it was also a pleasure meeting you. And I think we had a good time in Florida, didn't we?
Very much so. That Saturday night was quite a bit of fun. It was great. Great to get to know you at the main party, and talk to you and hear about all your ideas. And
sure,
I've been listening to some of your episodes and some of your interviews with other people, and definitely you're definitely an inspiration for me and for a whole host of people to up-level their lives. And I definitely looking forward to hearing what you have to say, as well as my listeners hearing what you have to say.
Sure.
How did you get into martial arts to begin with?
Good question. I'm Colombian, so I got to the United States when I was about 8. I had zero understanding of the language. I spoke Spanish. So I come here, no idea of what anyone is saying, right? And it was 3 days before my birthday, and my 8th birthday. I didn't even know it was my birthday coming up. So I was surprised, and my family said they have a cake. I'm like, I don't know what the word cake even means. So they were that was my first birthday surprise ever in my whole life. And it was kind of cool. It was just a little cake, but it was kind of cool. And growing up, understanding that not only am I being bullied by people who didn't know me, but because I couldn't understand them. So bullying was right away, right from the get start. So I walked to school because my parents didn't even know how to get me on a bus. So it was like 2 miles, maybe a little bit more. I had to walk to school and walk back. My parents showed me one way. This is how you get there. And that was it. They left me to my own thing. So yeah, I got bullied a lot. By the age of 10, I kind of picked up the language really quick. It was a no choice situation. No one in the school knew the language, and my Spanish, I mean. And so I had no choice but to adapt really quick. And so by the age of 10, I was hanging out with a bunch of kids, and a friend of mine said, he's leaving. I'm like, where are you going? He's like, I got to go. I'm like, can I come? And it was his dad, who was a master, and he had a lesson with his dad. And his dad was like, who's this kid? And he goes, he wanted to come. He goes, okay, I'll teach him too. So for about 6 months, I trained with this kid's dad until the dad became, I guess he treated me as his kid. So he started abusing me physically, hitting me and stuff like that. I was like, wait a minute, this is not part of the teaching. So that's when I stepped away from him and looked for my own teaching. And I wound up going to a church. In the basement of a church there was a guy teaching Kung Fu. And he looked like Lou Gossett Jr. from Top Gun. I was like, wow, this is so cool. So that's how I started with martial arts.
Well, that's wonderful. What kind of belts, certifications, and disciplines are you trained in these days?
Well, yeah, I am what they consider a Sifu in Kung Fu. So I've been certified in judo. I've been certified in Eskrima, stick fighting and knife fighting. But Kung Fu is my passion, where I teach 2 styles of Kung Fu. I teach Tibetan Lama Pai and Choi Lai Fat. But I also teach the internal aspects. So I teach Tai Chi, I teach Hei Gong, Nei Gong, and Qi Gong, all the internal aspects of it. For me, I feel like if you have the external, the internal has to go with it, right? Because we have to have that peace of mind, spirit, the whole connection has to be there for me.
Oh, that's wonderful. It sounds like you not only need to know how to fight, you need to know when to fight and if to fight. And to what extent did those meditative practices, help you discern that?
Well, I was a bouncer in New York for 5 years. I was a bouncer in some really high-end nightclubs, like the Palladium nightclub when it was open back in the day. I was a bouncer in certain different types of bars and stuff like that. And a lot of times we had to deal with gangs coming in, trying to kill each other. And in all those times, in 5 years, I was the only bouncer that the police never came looking for, because I never hit one person. People literally try to kill me, but I knew it wasn't personal. So it was my understanding that if they knew me, they'd like me, right? So it was the fact of, I know how to defend myself. I know how to protect you and myself and the other patrons. So for me, it was a really quick turnaround and kind of like be behind them in like in no time and say to them, you have two choices. You can go home or you can go to jail. What's your choice? And they're like, who the heck is this guy? I was about killing him and he's talking nicely in my ear. and the fact is that, oh, don't get me wrong, a few people went to jail because they just wouldn't let up. But I never hit one person, and people swung at me. People had knives, chains, all different kinds of crazy things. The last nightclub that I decided to say, I'm going to hang it up, is I survived many shootings. I never got shot, but I was either supposed to work at that nightclub, and a calling from above said, hey, why don't you go work at this other nightclub tonight? And I did, because I had a phone call from the other nightclub. Can you come in? And I selected which club I was going to work at. And it seemed like every time I made a choice, it was the right choice. It was a guardian angel, a higher power calling me and telling me, go to this nightclub instead. Because a lot of people got shot at the other club. There was a drive-by shooting at one, another one, a couple of people got shot. I was supposed to be where one of them was, but I was at a different nightclub. This guy took my spot. And the last one I was at, 4 people got shot, and I was right there. I saw them get shot. Afterwards, I didn't see the actual shooting, but I came up and I saw them dead in the car.
No.
It was just, I said, you know what? Maybe it's time I stopped being a bouncer, because at that time I do interior design architecture, and I was doing my day job. But at night I was like, I want to have some action. I want to have some fun. And every nightclub that I worked with, I made friends. So it was always, for me, it was an atmosphere of friendships and keeping people safe. So that was how I think the tranquility in me allowed me not to hurt other people. And as a bouncer, where I could have hurt people, I chose not to, because it was not personal.
Well, I'm certainly glad that God was looking out for you.
He absolutely
that
was.
one fateful night. Was it at that point that you started pivoting into teaching or owning studios, or have you been teaching all along?
I actually opened up my own studio in 1995. I started teaching for someone else in 92, but I'd always been in martial arts since I was 10. So, since 1975. So, I had always trained. I still train 7 days a week without fail. I mean, I did a training this morning. Every morning I'm training. So for me, it's not a habit. It's who I am. In the beginning, it was something that I felt energy and power with. And now, even if I go away, even when we were in Florida, when we went to Podfest, I trained every morning. I would wake up at 4:35 in the morning and go train before I even went to the events. And I do that no matter what. Even if I'm on vacation, I always find out, does the hotel have a place to work out in? If not, I bring either jump rope, TRX or something. Or sometimes I'll just do push-ups, jumping jacks, anything. I'll do my forms, so anytime I need to move, that's just who I am.
Wow, that's dedication for you. I was listening to one of your other interviews, and apparently you were around a bunch of kids in Queens that challenged one another to like do extra push-ups, you know, competing, in tennis and other sports, and
Right.
even doing like the precursor to Parker.
Right.
What was that experience? What was life like growing up for you in Queens?
Oh my gosh. Here's the crazy thing. Growing up in Queens, if anybody knows Queens, I grew up in Jackson Heights, right? On Warren Street, believe it or not. So there were kids that came out and we all basically hung out from the minute we could, especially in summertime, as early as we could until we absolutely had to get back home. So it was like an all-day event. And one kid came along and he said, look how many push-ups I can do. And then everybody else, I can do more, I can do more, I can do more. And then we all challenged each other until we were every one of us was doing 500 push-ups every single day. Or we would do planks, or we would do handstands. How far can you walk on your hands? And then, oh, look, I can do this flip. Oh, teach me how to do that. Oh, I'll do it. And then we say, let's fight. So we used to fight a friendly match, but on concrete. So we would be doing grappling before grappling was even popular. This is back in 1975. We were grappling on the ground, on concrete. Or if we found grass, we grabbed somebody's front yard or backyard and we just jumped in there and we fought. And it was always a challenge. And even at one point, we would climb roofs and we would jump from one roof to another. And we're talking about 12 feet. We run from the peak of the roof of the garage, run, jump, and land on the other roof. And even sometimes we found a secluded roof and we actually made a clubhouse up there. We used to bring out sandwiches. We used to buy sandwiches and bring them up there and eat on a roof, right? So we had no fear of heights. Here's a funny story. One day, the roofs were very far apart in this particular area. So there was a gate, a fence. It was about 6-foot fence. So in order for us to go to the other roof without touching the people's property, we actually walked across the fence on the top. I don't know how on earth we didn't fall off, but we did. It was like 8 of us, 9 of us. And we all went across the fence. So we're halfway through, and this man starts swinging a bat at us. So some kids run one way, I'm at the end, so I run the other way. I climb up, and he's chasing me with the bat. I climb up on the roof. I get to the top. I'm running on a roof. It's a peak, right, of a garage, and I roll over at the other end. Once I get the peak, I fall and I roll over. And in Queens, they had the metal ladders that people would hang their clothes on, right? Clothesline. And I hit that steel ladder and I climbed down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sweating. And I touch my face. And then I look at my hand and there's blood all over my hand. And I go out and my brother comes over and all the kids go like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. And then they were like, we saw that ladder moving sideways and we heard a big bang. So they all ran over. So my brother puts me on his bike. Now, mind you, I have blood all over my face. I have a big cut in my head. And I'm trying to hold on to my brother without passing out because I think I'm almost losing conscious. And he gets me home. And then my dad takes me to the hospital. But that's what growing up was. It was always an adventure. We would jump and climb and just all kinds of things. It was just a crazy, crazy fun time.
Sounds like when a buck was still silver and when people were active and outdoors instead of like on social media or video games or trying to get, it's 500 push-ups, not 500 likes on Instagram.
Correct. There was 1975, there was no social media, no Xbox, none of that stuff. So we engage, even like on the 4th of July, I'm going to tell you, and today's the 4th of July. So thank you for having me on the 4th of July. We had the craziest things. on Warren Street, it was one end of the block would fight the other end of the block with fireworks. We would throw M80s at each other. We were nuts. We were not normal. We would take bottle rockets and aim it, put it in a bottle and aim it at each other. And you would see things flying, all kinds of, thank God none of us got killed, because throwing an M80, you can blow your hand up. Somehow none of us did. I don't recommend it even for myself or any adult to handle any fireworks. Now, I did it as a kid, and I was definitely, I had too many Fruit Loops, I think. I was crazy, and so are all my friends and everybody on my block. I always recommend, if you're gonna do fireworks now, let the professionals handle the fireworks, and you just enjoy the show. You know, take the little things that you can light up, the sparklers, and do those instead. Be safe, everybody. Don't do what I did, right?
Sounds like you had you must have had the best guardian angel ever, given
Oh
what
my
you've been
gosh.
through in terms of near misses and your activities you're doing, and
Oh yeah.
hazards, and potentially getting hurt. Wow.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned 1975, that seems to like be the only betrayal of your age. Like what record?
I was 10 then.
Wow. Well, what kind of, like, for people who are trying to be fit, trying to be healthy, like, since you're the embodiment of that, what do you recommend to people starting out in their health and fitness journeys?
I love that question, because a lot of people think that they have to work out for an hour, first time out, and they go and they kill themselves, and then guess what? Day 2, or maybe even day 3, they don't go anymore. They don't do it. So here's the thing, right? Let's say you feel out of breath when you go up some stairs, or you just, it's hard to tie your shoes, anything like that. And anything that that, hey, maybe I need to do something for my health. Start small. Every day, this year, I decided on my YouTube channel, and on LinkedIn and on Facebook, I post mostly on LinkedIn and Facebook. I post every day. I decided January 1st, which was a Saturday, I would do it 3 minutes. And I went every day for 7 days. So it went from 3 minutes to 9 minutes. And then I would start it again. For example, today was day 3 of that. So it was 5 minutes, right? Today's day 185. I've been posting videos every single day, and it's not the same workout. I mean, I do with 0 weights, 0 equipment, or you can do some equipment, right? You don't need anything to get in shape but your mind. You have to set it up first. Listen, just stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. You're sitting on the couch, stand up, sit down. You're watching a show. If there's a commercial during the show, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. Do it till you get tired. There you go. You're standing up, you're sitting down. It's that simple. All of a sudden you go, have I ever even done 1 push-up? Maybe you have. Maybe you used to do 30 push-ups back in the day, but you haven't done one since, 12, 14, 20 years ago, or you did one last year. Start again. Do 1 push-up. Start with 1 simple step. Unless you can jump really high, you can't get to the 3rd floor from the 1st floor. You have to climb. Climb 1 step at a time. Listen, do it smart, because you want to create a habit. They say habits are 30 days, 66 days. No. Habits are what you make of your actions. Why do we brush our teeth? Because our parents help us create that habit. Who created that for us? Dentists. Or was it the toothpaste company? Was it Colgate? It was them who said, we need to do this. And therefore, they secured their marketplace. So think about how smart were the toothpaste companies. They created a habit that everybody knows. When I wake up, I have to brush my teeth. When maybe at midday, I have to brush my teeth, or after I have a meal, I have to clean my teeth. And then before I go to sleep, did you brush your teeth? So in the beginning, as kids, we're like, we don't want to brush our teeth, but we did it anyway. And it became a habit. You don't think of it anymore. So did you brush your teeth?
For the record, I did. What about you?
Let me think about it. Oh, yes, I did. And I know most of our listeners, I would say 99.9999% of our listeners brush their teeth. But that's only one healthy thing you've done today. What's the other one? What food are you consuming? Here's the thing. Do you want to change your outcome? Do you want to live longer? Do you want to live the end of your years on a hospital bed, or roaming around the countryside, or even traveling, or being with your grandkids, or being with your partner, or riding a bike, or taking a walk? You choose today what you want to do. What do you want to do? How active are you? The foods that we take in our body can hurt us or heal us. You choose. When we think about food, it's here's the choice, right? If you eat the foods that you continually eat and your body's not changing to what you want it to be, I'm not talking about thin, I'm talking about healthy. Forget those models on the magazine covers who need to eat. I'm talking about healthy, where your doctor goes, wow, your body percentage is great according to your height and all these different things. Your blood work is good. Your cholesterol is good. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking, you don't have to look like anyone else. You're you. You have to be you. So be healthy for you. So here's the choice. Do you make a change, or do you keep doing the same thing that's kept you where you are? Change is not easy. Change is difficult. So here's the thing, right? If you don't want to make a change, then keep putting those fingers in those Doritos or those snacks and feeding your face. And if that's what makes you super happy, do it. But will that make you super happy when you can't enjoy those anymore because they're sticking you with needles in the hospital with insulin or who knows what else, because you didn't take care of that beautiful body that God gave us? If you don't believe in God, then how'd you get that body, right? So for me, my body is a gift and I take care of it. My mind is a gift and I take care of it. People, we have one chance to fix us. Let's take it today.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, you alluded to like your parents teaching you to brush your teeth, and your parents and many of our parents were the original coaches.
Correct.
Now you have a podcast since the December 2020 called Coaching Call.
Yes.
What inspired you to pivot, into that space? Given that you currently own a martial arts and fitness studio. How do those fit together?
Yeah. So here was my thought, right? I'm always looking ahead. So before the pandemic, before the pandemic even hit, back in January, maybe even December, I've always had tons of videos on YouTube because I'm always trying to help people out. And so I wanted to create something so that I can create online courses for people. And I said, what's the best way that I can communicate with people around the world, even to do one-on-one or one-to-many? And I said, let me look into what platforms are out there. Skype it's a one-on-one. Zoom was already doing one-on-many. So I said, let me start looking into Zoom. So I looked into Zoom really deep. I did a lot of studying on how to really work it, right? And then when the pandemic hit, we were closed on a Monday. I emailed all my members, and I even texted them, and I said, hey guys, we have to close, it's mandated, but we're all on Zoom, and I have all your classes here. You're not going to miss anything. Starting Wednesday, take a day off, figure out how to do Zoom. I even showed them videos on how to do it, everything. So on Wednesday, we were right back on. So not only did I have classes, 7 classes every single day, Monday through Friday. So on Saturday morning, I said, I'm going to have all my black belts. I'm going to have coffee with Sifu. They call me Sifu. That means teacher in Chinese. So I said, let's do coffee with Sifu. So I said, guys, no martial arts talk. We're just going to talk on anything. And so they all started asking me questions on the physical aspects. How do you think of this? What muscles are we using when we do this move? And so I started teaching them the mechanics, how the body moves, what muscles are engaged when we do a particular, even kung fu move, right? And so I started teaching them all these different concepts, and we all have some coffee, and it went from an hour, sometimes it was an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. And so what wound up happening is I said, hey guys, do you think that other people would be interested in what we're doing? They're like, absolutely. I said, great. I think I'm going to create a show and do a podcast, called Coffee with Sifu. And that was my initial thought. And the more I looked into it, because listen, I've been doing martial arts since I was 10. I love martial arts, but I've been coached. I was in gymnastics. I taught gymnastics as well. I taught swimming. When I was in high school, I used to go in 0 period to teach people who didn't know how to swim, swimming. I used to go from my high school on Saturdays. I used to go teach at another high school gymnastics. I used to teach people how to do parkour. How do you jump over that car so easy? This is how you do it. You have to do this. You have to leverage your body. You have to put your hand down, throw your legs. So I was always teaching, coaching people. I've been coached. I used to be on the handball team. I had a coach. I was on the gymnastics team. I had a coach. I've taught people dancing. So I said, I think coaching is more of really what I want to talk about. So I started doing some research. It took me 9 months. And because I didn't want to rush it, I wanted to do it right. And so I started talking to different people, looking things up. And I said, and then here's what happened as well. While I'm doing all this research, the pandemic hit. Everybody needed to pivot, as you say. They needed to switch to make money, to figure things out. And a lot of people who were never coaches started claiming they were coaches. I've been a coach my whole life. At 10 years old, I was teaching people how to do things. That doesn't make me a coach, but it made me understand how to help people. So I've always been into helping people. But all of a sudden, these people who never helped anyone said, hey, buy my course. I can teach you how to do this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's only $9.97. It's $4.47. And it's this, that, the other. And so a lot of, I call them coaches as roaches, right? So for me,
Coach Roach.
Yeah, Coach Roach. So what wound up happening is I said, wow, there's so many fake coaches or wannabe coaches. And listen, we all have to start somewhere. And I applaud anybody who started during the pandemic. But you cannot call yourself an expert with 10 days of training or 2 months of training. You're not an expert. I'm sorry. You have to say, hey, this is who I am. I just got started, but I'm 2 months ahead of you. Okay, so cool. So what wound up happening is I said, I have to do something about coaching. And the more I looked into it, there's absolutely no, I'm sure people are going to copy me, because when you do something good, people are going to copy you. There was absolutely no show like the one I wanted to put together. Zero. I looked left and right. So that's when Coaching Call started. I wanted to talk to coaches all over the world. So how did I contact coaches who I never met? And so Facebook is a small platform. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a big platform, but it's very localized in a way, right? Who are professional people who are there in a business aspect? Who do I want to talk to? That's where I said, I have a LinkedIn account. My LinkedIn account, I only have 526 contacts. Let me see how many of those are coaches. I said, oh, wow, I know a lot of people. I said, let me start reaching out to some other coaches. So I know coaches from all walks of life. I have friends of mine who are MMA coaches. I've trained with UFC coaches. I've, UFC fighters, all this kind of
Nice.
stuff. Yeah, it's so much fun. But I said, I just don't want to just talk to UFC people. I want to talk to any kind of coach. So I started reaching out to other coaches, and I said, look, I have this thing happening. Would you be on my show? Right now, I have over 5,500 contacts on LinkedIn because I started reaching out to people, told them what I wanted to do. So that's how I started Coaching Call. I know I made a long story short, really long, so I'm sorry about that.
Well, to quote one of my other guests, Dana Bolster, to make a long story long, was one of the things she would say to me in the interviews. That's also an inspiration that you, in a short amount of time, that you upgraded the quality and quantity of the people in your network.
Right.
Yeah. How rewarding was that for you?
Oh my gosh. Now it's, the whole thing, the reward comes when someone says yes. And when I get to talk to amazing people, that to me is everything. So I have on my podcast, and here's the thing. I didn't do a podcast to make money. I made my podcast to make connections. And the connections I have, now I can go all over the world, and I have people who would actually say, come stay with me. I can go to the Fiji Islands. I can go to Australia. I can go to Italy. I can go to Singapore. I can go anywhere in the world. And I have friends now because I've made those connections. And they're always saying, hey, when are you coming? Right. And I said, after the pandemic, we'll be there. So one of the things is it's the connections. It's the gift of getting to know someone is probably my biggest takeaway. And it's just so fulfilling.
That was by far my favorite aspect of Podfest touring. That is meeting a lot of cool people. I even like that aspect more than, the technical stuff I learned about my, burgeoning podcasting career. Right. Just meeting a lot of great people, including and especially you.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, I understand you have a second podcast in the works. What's that about?
Well, it's actually, I haven't done it in a podcast format, but I'm going to. So it's a live event. We do it. I have a co-host, and we bring two other coaches who've already been on my show, and they come in and they just give it's for an hour. We do it twice a month on a Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern time. It's called Heroes Rising. And so Heroes Rising is based on coaching people to level up. So the coaches that I bring up, they're going to teach something, give you some golden nuggets. And it's on my YouTube channel. It's called Coaching Call on that YouTube channel, because I have like 12 YouTube channels. So my YouTube channel, it's called Dailung, Dailung, and that has a dragon on it. And then that one, I have like 850 videos. But that one is more like martial arts. I have martial arts challenges. I have all different kinds of stuff. But the Coaching Call is all based on coaching. And for that one, you can look at all the previous Heroes Rising podcasts, if you will, that we've done. They've all been live. And the cool thing about it is that we get to engage with our audience, but the coaches I bring on, man, do they deliver. They'll give you a concept or an idea that you can actually run with, improve your business, improve yourself, whether it's for your health. I've had doctors on there. I've had all different kinds of coaches, authors, people who've given away free stuff, free books. It's just phenomenal. And I love doing it. James, I'm going to tell you, I know you like to be Jimmy, right? But I love first names, by the way. James, I'm going to tell you, I am addicted to my own show. It's so funny because it's not me that I want to listen to. It's the coaches that come on. They have such great information to share, and they're all givers. Every one of them is willing to share their information, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's inspiring to have you share your wisdom and seek wisdom and inspiration for others. As we wind down, in addition to what you just mentioned just now, how can people get a hold of you both for coaching call as well as your martial arts and fitness studio?
Sure. So my fitness studio, if you just want to check out my website, it's maxfit.us. So maxfit.us. And there you can take a look at all the different programs I offer. And then if you want to reach out to me personally, I'll give you my email, right? It's coaching Paul PC, like Peter Cat, @gmail.com. And it's that simple. If anybody wants to book me for anything, I do public speaking, I do all kinds of events. I go to different schools, I go to different businesses, and I teach them how to level up. I do self-defense seminars for people. I do pro bono work for people. My whole thing is to inspire people to be great. This is why I do all the posting, all the videos, all the stuff. We are all so unaware of the gifts that we have to explore them and share them. Don't be selfish, people. Share what you have. Sometimes, it's not the money, right? The glory comes from helping someone. That's where it is. That's the gift.
Wow. Thank you so much for coming on to the Jimmy Daytona show, Sifu Rafael. Wonderful to meet you last month, and thanks for inspiring my listeners. And hope a lot of people can get a hold of you and learn a lot from you and the people you're in contact with. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th to you.
God bless.